Don't chase vanity metrics. I have become very mercenary doing this show. It's entirely possible that you could get more sales from 200 downloads an episode than you could from 2,000 if it's the right 200.
Hey there, this is Podjunction Podcast, the show where business leaders share how they use podcasting to grow, connect, and build their brands. Today, I'm talking to Gary Arndt, creator and host of Everything Everywhere Daily, one of the world's most downloaded educational podcasts with over 50 million downloads since launching in 2020. Gary, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Gary, you've got such an interesting backstory, spending years traveling the world before launching your show. Can you tell us a bit about that chapter and how that evolved into what you're doing now?
Yeah, so I started traveling in 2007 because I basically didn't know what to do with my life. And I had no wife, no kids, I had some savings, and there was nothing stopping me, so I decided to do it. And I thought I'd travel for a year, maybe two, but it turns out the world is really, really big. And I just kind of never stopped. I had a website that became very popular. I had a popular travel blog. And I started really before social media was a thing. So when Twitter and Facebook and Instagram came out, I developed followings on those platforms as well. I became well known for photography. But over time, as a business, I didn't really like where it was going with a lot of content creation, to be honest. Everything became about appeasing an algorithm, which meant the lowest common denominator for content was what was winning. And you'd see these influencers and they would just have a highly choreographed photo of themselves, wistfully looking at a cup of coffee. It didn't matter where they were. This was true in everything. And online, and, for the website, it all became SEO. Everyone tried to game the algorithms. And so clickbait and, all this outrage would drive what was happening. And I kind of longed for the old days where I just had a website and people came to the website and they left comments and that was a social media. But, it was largely killed by a combination of Facebook and Google. And so I was really kind of not feeling great about where things were going. And then the pandemic hit. And when the pandemic hit, it just devastated the travel industry. More so than any other, because it came to a stop. There was zero travel. A lot of the companies that I'd worked with literally had zero revenue coming in. They were not running tours, and it was very, very bad. And my income it dropped like 95% over a period of 2 weeks in March of 2020. All the contracts I had going on were canceled. Traffic to my website dried up. Nobody was researching or thinking about travel at that point. And I knew that I had to do something different. And I'd been podcasting for a long time. I was the host of a show called This Week in Travel since 2009. The pandemic killed that too. But I had an idea for a show. I went so far as to make the show artwork. I had theme music that I bought the rights for. And I was going to be doing longer episodes of like 2 hours and release maybe one episode every other week. And I kind of realized that it really wasn't a great business model. So I just put the idea aside. And when the pandemic hit, I realized that podcasting was the last vestige of the old internet, that it wasn't dependent upon algorithms. It wasn't dependent upon SEO. It's still largely word of mouth. Although there is a component of it, people discover shows on Apple and other platforms. But it's not like YouTube, where someone may post video, and then one spikes and goes viral, and then maybe they don't see it again. That's not how audio podcasting works. So I revisited the idea that I had, and instead of doing long episodes infrequently, I decided to do short episodes every day. And I pitched this idea to some of my friends who had successful podcasts, and they all had the same advice. They said, this is a great idea, and you're insane, because daily podcasts very seldom work.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I got nothing else going on in my life right now. So I created 100 show ideas, and on January 1st of 2020, I published episode number 1. And after I'm done talking to you, I'll be working on episode number 1,844.
Oh, wow.
So,
wow. That's fantastic. So what made you decide to do the daily format?
It was really a calculated business decision, to be honest. One, I felt that I was uniquely in a position to do this kind of show. I have a very broad and varied background between travel and degrees and subjects that have nothing to do with each other. So I felt that, maybe I'm not the only person in the world who could do it, but I'm probably the only person in the world who has the time available right now to do something like this. And I also just did the math that there's several components that go into the growth and success of a show. Biggest one is perhaps time, but one of the factors is also the number of episodes you produce. And the quickest way to get in a lot of episodes is to do it every day.
Yeah.
So after a year, you have 365 episodes. If you do that on a weekly show, that'll take you 7 years. So, and that's kind of what I found happened.
That's really great. That's really smart. So was the goal then to turn the podcast into a business, or was it more of a creative leap initially that kind of found traction? How did you find those initial?
I had every intent from day one of turning it into a business. I basically write a 2,000-word script every day.
Okay.
So I'm writing a term paper every single day.
Yeah.
And that's not something most people do for fun. But, if I wanted to just do it because it was interesting, I would just read a lot.
Yeah.
Which is what I did before I started the show. But no, I intended it. But I gave myself like a year to a year and a half before it really started to achieve any sort of success. But I was willing to stick with it that entire time because I believed in what I was doing.
Yeah. Wow. So do you record one every day, or do you batch record and release one every day? How do you do that?
No, I record every day.
Every day.
Usually like a few hours before. I really can't do more than one a day because the time-consuming part is not the recording. Recording's easy. I can record, the average show, the body of the show will be about 12 minutes. That'll take me 20, 25 minutes to record. That's not hard. It's the writing and research that takes up all the time. And doing multiple in a day, maybe if I spent all day doing it, I could do 2. But doing more than that really isn't possible. But I also recently, finally, after 5 years, I hired an assistant. So I have someone who's helping me with writing and research. So I do have a bit of a buffer now, so I could go on vacation.
Yeah, that's big. So were you doing all the production yourself as well?
Up until, like I said, hiring an assistant a few weeks ago, every aspect of my show was done by myself. I had no help in anything other than selling ads, which I have a network to do.
Yeah, that's huge. That's big. And for 5 years.
It's not as big as it seems. The audio production, so there's different types of podcasts. Like what we're doing right now, this is an interview show. It's being done online. So there's different things you have to take into consideration. We're having a live discussion. It's not scripted. There's ums and ahs. Maybe there'll be something in the background. There'll be a siren or something. You need to pause it. There could be an internet issue, right? That happens sometimes. So I have the easiest type of show. I have a solo scripted podcast, which means I'm reading text. It's only me. So many of the things you have to worry about editing in a show just go away. So what I do is I just start reading the script until I flub up or want to do it differently. And I just go back and I start at that point and I just keep doing it over and over and over until I get to the end. And when I'm done, it's done. And that's how I'm able to do it so fast.
So Gary, you already had an audience from your blog. You were talking about your website. When you built the podcast, did you have that audience in mind, or were you making a fresh start in many ways?
It was really a pretty big pivot. I got a little bit of audience from that, but not as much as you would think.
Yeah.
So I have a little under 180,000 followers on Instagram. I have over 100,000 followers on Twitter, Facebook, all of that. But when I launched the show that first month, I got maybe 200 downloads an episode. So most of that audience did not come over.
Right.
And that includes an email list that was over 10,000 people. So it was quite a bit. So it's not like I had this huge tsunami of people coming over. And that's one of the things I learned is that promoting podcasts on social media doesn't work very well because of the conversion problem.
Right.
And this isn't just me saying it, and I've tried. I've spent money creating video shorts for TikTok and things like that, and it just does not convert very well. And I've talked to many other large podcasters that have audiences much larger than mine, and they've all said the same thing. Social media does very little. Yet whenever I see podcasters talking about starting a show or launching it, the only thing they think about is promoting it on social media. And if you look at what large podcast networks do for promoting their shows, it's almost all within the podcasting ecosystem. They promote it on other podcasts or within podcast apps or places where 100% of the people that are going to reach are podcast listeners.
Right. So, Gary, if you don't mind, I'd love for you to dig into that a little bit more. Like, is it, again, something to do, you mentioned earlier about the algorithms and SEO and all that. Is it something to do with that? That's why it doesn't work? Or is there another reason behind it?
No, I think it's conversion.
Okay.
Facebook does not want people leaving Facebook. No one wants them leaving that app. And if you have an audio podcast, it requires opening up a separate app and hitting subscribe. There's several steps, that you have to go through. And so one, the places you're promoting it don't want people to leave. And second, it's just moving from one platform to a next doesn't work well. Trying to promote your Instagram on Twitter is not going to work well. If you want to promote Instagram, do it on Instagram. If you want to promote Twitter, do it on Twitter. If you want to promote a podcast, do it on podcasts. I don't know who's listening to our discussion right now, but I know that 100% of them listen to podcasts. Yeah. That's all I know. Yeah. So, and really, to grow any show, you want podcast listeners. The podcast audience is growing all the time. That's good, but it's still not everyone. And a lot of people, they think YouTube, not an audio podcast right away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Gary, how does your particular podcast fit into your work? So from a business or a brand building perspective?
It is the business right now. So almost 100% of my revenue is coming from, well, it is pretty much 100% if you include like Patreon and advertising. Okay. So I've always believed that there's kind of two approaches you can take to monetizing a podcast. They're not mutually exclusive, but it just helps clarify it. On one hand, you can sell a product or service. Yeah. And this is what a lot of podcasts with smaller audiences do. They have coaching or a book or a course or something like that they sell. Larger podcasts don't do that. It's pretty much just straight advertising. And that's what my show does. Now, of course, you can blend it. There's nothing stopping you from having a course and running it. But the truth is, to make any real money advertising, you need to have a pretty sizable audience. You need to at least have about 10,000 downloads per episode. And the vast majority of podcasters are never going to achieve it. Yeah. That being said, I know of many podcasters who are making six figures, but don't have anywhere close to that. They may just have hundreds of downloads per episode, but it's a very focused audience that is concerned about what they're talking about. My audience, literally the name of my show is Everything Everywhere. It's not a niche. So I'm casting a very broad net. So advertising is what works for me because I've been able to get a big audience for that. And I've racked my brain, like, what could I have a product or something? And there really isn't. I might do tours or something at some point, or merchandise. Everyone does that. But I'm kind of definitely on that one end of the spectrum.
Do you think podcasting has given you a new kind of authority or reach that your blog or photography didn't?
Absolutely. So, like I said, just to qualify what I'm saying, I had a pretty large audience on social media and everything else. But the response I have gotten with my podcast is unlike anything I have done by several orders of magnitude. The real metric online that matters is time, not eyeballs, not numbers and likes. Most people can't tell you the last 10 things they liked on social media, right? You're just scrolling, next thing. You may see hundreds, if not thousands of things in a week, and you don't remember any of it. With podcasting, and I need to be very clear, audio podcasting, not YouTube. you are in a place where people otherwise cannot consume content. You are in their head, and they're giving you their time. So I actually calculated, like, of the number of people that visit my website, what's the average time spent on the website, multiply those two things together. And then I figured out, okay, number of downloads I get of the podcast, what's the percentage completion of people? And it's like, 90% of people will listen to the whole thing. And I estimated it's close to 10,000 times more time is being spent listening to my podcast than is being spent reading things on my website. And you could even factor in social media in that, even when I was at my peak, because how long do people spend looking at a photo? A few seconds. I mean, that's it. But with podcasting, I have time. I just had this last Saturday, I had my 5th anniversary party for my show. And I had it in Wisconsin, which is not a huge, market. Appleton, Wisconsin. It's not very big. I managed to fill a building with it. I had people flying from California, New Jersey. People drive in from all the states surrounding that came to see me. And you develop a parasocial relationship. I have this thing I created for my show called the Completionist Club for people who have listened to every episode of my show, which is becoming hard because I have over 1,800 episodes of my show. And there have been probably a couple thousand people that have done that, which means that they are listening over and over and over. And not only that, but I get people who have done it twice, and in a few insane cases, 3 times. So they're listening to my voice more than I listen to my voice, and I'm me. That does not happen on social media. And that development of a parasocial relationship can only be developed in that kind of environment. Even I don't even think it can be done on YouTube. Because with YouTube, if you look at like completion rates of videos, it drops off dramatically. Before it even hits like, a minute usually. And with my podcast, because it's short and frequent, it's very, very high. And
it's digestible.
And you've probably seen the data that people can recall ads better from audio podcasts, that there's a greater ability for it's just qualitatively better by every metric I can think of, and it's not even close. And that's the thing that most people don't realize, is how good podcasting is at that. And if you did want to create a numerical reflection of this, all you have to do is look at CPM rates on YouTube versus audio podcasting. The best CPMs you can hope for on YouTube are for like finance channels, and they might get like a $15 CPM. Otherwise, it's very common to get like $2 to $3 CPMs for most things. The average CPM in an audio podcast industry-wide is $20. And they can go well beyond that. And I think, the industry has voted with their money. But the problem is there's usually not a big gaudy number. You can see how many people saw a video, but you don't see how many people listen to a podcast.
That's right.
I think that's what drives a lot of people.
Well, clearly your content is resonating. And I mean, like 50 million plus downloads is no small feat. But we both know, Gary, don't we, that growth doesn't happen without a few lessons along the way. So what have been some of the biggest surprises or challenges that you've run into since launching the show?
You hit plateaus every once in a while, and you have to be able to stick it out. If you believe in what you're doing, you have to be able to keep going. And I had periods where I'm like, well, should I keep doing this, especially early on? And you don't get a lot of feedback in podcasting either. You can post a YouTube video and there'll be hundreds of comments underneath it. That's not the way podcasting usually works. So that, and the other big thing is you have to be willing to invest in the growth of your show. I can't think of any other, if you want your podcast to be a business, I can't think of any other business where you can hope to launch a business, invest nothing, and expect success. Yet somehow podcasters all the time are doing this, where they Yeah, I have a podcast. No, I'm not, I don't want to spend, well, what about $100? No, I'm not going to spend that. And it's like, with all the podcasts out there, hoping that people find you just doesn't work. If you're not a celebrity, you're just not going to get, the attention of people. And so you're going to have to spend some money. A podcast is a media property.
Yeah.
It's a small media property, but it's still a media property. And you are competing with Netflix, television studios, movie studios, books, music, all of that for people's time. Time spent listening to a podcast is time not spent watching television. And when a new Marvel movie comes out, they may spend $100 million on promotion for that movie, even if it's something everybody knows is kind of coming out already. Why is your podcast any different? Why do you think that you cannot spend any money on it? If you look at every successful podcast studio, they'll have a budget of tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars for the promotion of a show when it launches. That's kind of the norm in the industry. I'm not saying you have to spend that much money. I didn't do that when I started, but I spent hundreds of dollars buying ads on places like Overcast, Pocket Cast, Podcast Addict, and places like that to expose people to my show.
Yeah.
And that grew the audience, allowed me to make more money, to spend more money, and kind of get the ball rolling.
Gary, you mentioned plateauing every now and then. When you hit those plateaus, what do you do? Do you build new habits or systems to stay on track? What does that look like for you?
Try something new. I've been in a plateau for my current show for a while. It's a good plateau. It's like 1.5 million downloads a month. So I'm going to be I'm eating my own dog food, and I'm investing a lot. I've just launched a big marketing campaign with one of the largest trivia websites that also does like pub trivia, and they have a conference where 1,000 people show up. So I'll be there, and I'll be working with them. I do advertising on other podcasts. I do guest appearances on other podcasts. So I even bought an ad in the American Mensa email newsletter. All places where, I'm hoping that I can. The other thing is that I have a very good idea what the value is of a new subscriber to my show. So I can calculate if I get a subscriber and, let's say they listen to what percentage of my shows, and with this CPM, I can pretty much figure out what they're worth. And so for me, a new subscriber is about $10 a year.
Okay.
So if I can acquire a subscriber for substantially less than that, then it's a pretty good deal. And that's an important exercise just because it gives you an idea of how much you should spend to acquire a subscriber. And I know people that have values per subscriber well over $10, especially if you're in kind of that first camp where you're selling a course or, a training or coaching or things like that. It can be much, much higher. So spending money to acquire those new customers can be well worth it. I'm kind of on the other end, where $10 is probably actually pretty low, but I can still usually get subscribers for somewhere in like the $1 to $2 range.
Well, so Gary, do you know what works best for you in terms of growth? So is it cross promotions? Is it guest appearances? Yeah.
A little bit of everything. You never know when people are going to be listening. And the other thing I should note is that what you need to do will change as your show grows. So what I did to start the show, I can still do that, but I'm going to probably get the same results because it's linear. It doesn't scale. So if I buy an ad on, say, the Overcast app, I can get, 100 to 200 subscribers in a month from that ad. But when I'm getting 50,000 some downloads a day, that doesn't, you can barely tell it in the noise of the daily fluctuations of downloads. I need something that, how do I double my show? And that is a very different problem when you're where I am versus where I was, say, 3 years ago. So now I'm looking at, and it's going to cost me more money, and that's fine. But it's a different nut that I'm trying to crack. So I'm looking at bigger marketing deals with bigger platforms for more money. Not something I would recommend when you're just starting out, but what worked for me then just isn't going to move the needle for me now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there is something about that, isn't it? Like you have to keep evolving. And, it's clear you've built something with real staying power, but we need to still keep looking ahead to see what needs to be adapted and changed. So with that in mind, actually, what's on the horizon for the podcast or your brand overall?
Keep doing what I'm doing. I said that for the first 5 years, I was basically doing everything myself. And I think I definitely need to be bringing more people on board. I've not launched a subscriber version of the show. And because I have people that listen to so many episodes, there's demand for that. If you're going to listen to one or, if you release an episode every week, every 2 weeks, it's not a big deal. When you listen to one every day and you have a back catalog in the thousands, getting people to subscribe to that could actually be a pretty good source of revenue. And again, because I know the value of a subscriber, let's say I charge $5, $6 a month. For that, you get 30 episodes. The annual value to me of that is way more than I'm going to get from advertising. So that's something I need to do. Right. Merchandise. I got people begging me for merchandise. I haven't done that yet. And the reason I haven't done a lot of this stuff is simply because I've been producing a podcast every day. And that's always the top priority.
Yeah. Gary, if you were to give advice to business leaders who are podcast curious, but unsure if it's worth their time or effort, what would you say?
Figure out what your end goal is. Don't chase vanity metrics. I have become very mercenary doing this show, where I don't waste my time doing anything that isn't going to, move things forward. I used to speak at tons of conferences. I don't speak at any anymore because I don't attend podcast conferences, because I went to a few and I'm like, well, is this going to help me grow my audience? No one here is looking for podcasts to listen to. They're all worried about their own show. Yeah. Is this going to help me make money? No, it's not. Advertisers aren't here. Am I going to learn anything? No, I'm not. It's the same people doing the same sessions at every single thing, and it's all available online. So all I'm doing is taking time away from my show and spending money. It doesn't help me. So if you have a business and you're launching a podcast to support the business, then that needs to be your focus, and viewing conversion, not just empty audience growth or downloads for the sake of a vanity metric. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible that you could get more sales from 200 downloads an episode than you could from 2,000 if it's the right 200.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you're right. It's the conversion, not the vanity metrics. And it's so easy to get pulled into those because so many people just go based on how many downloads you've got, but that doesn't always equate.
Yeah. And like I said, that's why it's helpful to think of this as two ends of a spectrum. On the spectrum I'm on, downloads do matter, right? Yeah. Because I'm making my money from the advertising. But if you're not doing that, then the downloads don't really matter. It's all just conversion and targeting the right people. And especially if you're spending money to grow your audience, it forces you to think about where will my money be best spent and what is the audience that I want to attract. As opposed to if you just want downloads for the sake of downloads, then you get stuck into these places that will like embed your podcast on a video game, one of those mobile apps that pops up and, you get an automatic download, but no one actually listened and no one cares. And what you really want is you don't want downloads. You want an audience. You want to build an audience. You want to build a community of people that care about what you have to say and want to hear more from you in the future.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. That was really helpful. That was a really helpful way to put that. Before we close, Gary, you've shared so many great insights into the day-to-day and the strategy behind your show. But if you were to zoom out a little, how has your approach to storytelling evolved from your travel days to now?
Well, I've gotten better at it, which I would hope would happen after you've done it 1,500 times. I look back at some of my early episodes and I cringe. And I have enough episodes published now where I'm kind of going to be hitting a limit on some podcast apps. So I may have to either redo some of them, which I'm thinking of doing, or take some of them down. But I've just gotten better at the act of storytelling. And it's one of those things. I'm sure you've heard about the whole 10,000 hours and putting that in. I've done that. And it's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
And you just become better and better. And so what I think of when I do a new episode, and my episodes could be on anything from, a biography of someone to the element nitrogen. And you need to develop a story arc, even if it's for nitrogen, right? It's like, how is it discovered? What does it do? How is it used for? What are some applications? What could it be used for in the future? Things like that. So there's still some sort of arc there. And that's always kind of what I'm thinking about. When I record a show, I usually end up finishing the recording at around midnight to 2 a.m.
Okay.
And soon as I'm done, like literally, once I've hit publish, I go to bed and I'm thinking about the next episode and what I'm going to be doing. And so long as I have some sort of narrative in my head for what it's going to be about, the writing is actually pretty easy because all I have to do is follow that path.
Yeah. Wow, that's cool. Thank you. Gary, this has been such an insightful conversation for me. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
If someone wants to dive into your podcast or connect with you, where should they go to do that?
Wherever you're listening to this podcast right now, just go search for Everything Everywhere Daily.
Awesome. Thank you. All the links that Gary's just mentioned can be found in the show description. And if you've been wondering how podcasting could support your own business growth, I hope Gary's story gives you permission to pivot and the tools to build something that lasts. Thanks, as always, for listening, and bye for now.